Today's words of wisdom come from the Chinese philosopher Confucius. They come from a collection called the Analects, Book 2, Section 12. The master said, "An educated person is not a pot." Take a minute to think about this before you continue. It's always good to note your initial impressions of a quotation from a philosopher. Who was Confucius? Confucius was a Chinese moral philosopher from 2,500 years ago. He lived at the start of a politically chaotic and violent couple of centuries in Chinese history called the Warring States period. You can think of him as primarily a teacher of moral philosophy who had two missions. He wanted to help political leaders become better rulers by becoming better people, which proved to be a tough task, but he was also interested in helping anybody who wanted to make progress towards becoming a better human being. This second mission was a radical view in his time. For a lot of societies in human history, the idea of human excellence was tied to your position in society. You were considered better than other people because you belonged to a certain social class simply by way of birth. Confucius thought that human excellence wasn't a question of birth, but rather a question of education and personal development. What were Confucius's philosophical projects? For Confucius, the role of the philosopher was to help us understand, and then to cultivate, a certain vision of human excellence. So the big background questions for Confucius were, what is the nature of our humanness? When is it at its best? And how can we become better? As far as we know, Confucius didn't write anything himself. Instead, we learn about the things he said and did from a collection of sayings called the Analects. It's very likely the most read text in the history of humanity. It's full of short entries that are meant to get us thinking in the right direction about developing our best human qualities and why it matters, including this passage. Confucius said, "An educated person is not a pot." Take another minute to think about it more, now that you know some of the context. Finally, here are a few notes about the passage itself. First, the ancient Chinese word for pot meant something more like ritual vessel, a container that was used in sacred rituals. But a lot of the meaning in this passage can come from thinking about any kind of container, including a pot used for cooking. Second, the ancient Chinese word for educated person was a special but common term in Confucian thinking, sometimes translated as gentleman. But the core idea here is that business about human excellence. So it could also read, "The master said, the excellent human is not a pot." Still need some help thinking about it? Try these questions. If a person is not like a pot, let's start by thinking about what a pot is like. How would you describe what a pot is? Are there situations where people are indeed like a pot? And so is Confucius suggesting that being like a pot isn't the only way to think about our humanness? And if an educated or excellent person is not like a pot, what is an educated person like? The master said, "An educated person is not a pot."